Welcome. We're here again with another KitPlus TV magazine show. Stay tuned for who's coming up this week. Our workflow guests this week are Stuart from Ross Video with news on the recent launch of Graphite Portable Production Centre, and Jordan from Foundry with updates on our post-production visual effects and CG animation tool Katana.
We also have Cornelius from Rohde Schwarz explaining where the company is now after considerable changes over the last few years, notably the acquisition of Pixel Power, of course. And talking about Codecs, we have Fabio from VNova joining us in the studio.
In this week's TV Futures, our student is Daniel, who is a graduate from the University of Portsmouth, where he has studied a Bachelor of Science in Television and Broadcasting, and he gives us his insights into what he has learned about how the TV industry works.
Yeah, maybe you can tell us a little bit about it afterwards. Finally, we've a KitPlus double bill this week. So far in his tech series, Alister Chapman has demystified RAW, explained all you need to know about gamma curves, and shown us how to select a tripod. Let's see what he's up to today.
And I'm going to be looking at ISO and gain and what that means with an electronic camera.
Thanks, Alistair. Definitely another one to watch. And following on from there, we're joined by John Fry from CVP with two new initiatives that they've come up with to help their customers during these difficult times.
Don't forget, if you're short on time, then there are links in the description of the video to jump directly to any point of the show that you particularly want to watch. So now let's go over to Dick and see who's with him this week.
John, thanks. Today, through the miracle of the internet, I'm talking to Erik Otto of Mediaproxy, who is near Melbourne in Australia. But before we get to Erik, here is TV Futures.
Hi, my name is Dan Jones and I'm a graduate from the University of Portsmouth, where I've studied a Bachelor of Science in Television and Broadcasting for 3 years. So the 3 years have been a major insight on how the television industry works by anything using technology, creativity and teamwork to complete a television programme on time and suitable for the target audience, which the brief states. The courses allow me to gain knowledge on how to use a camera, setting up a small television studio within the university, as well as constructing a suitable outside broadcast environment. Technology is a key interest in mine. However, being open-minded to other roles within the television industry has allowed me to understand the full process in creating television programmes. When constructing a documentary as part of a unit of the course in the third year, I helped out with directing, which helped me understand more of what a director's job is and how they work in unison with other camera operators to get a good-looking and effective story to be at broadcast quality. University has allowed me to get involved and experiment with certain job roles that I never thought I'd ever be interested in pursuing at the start of the 3 years. Because of this, I've thought about progressing towards a directing job in the distant future and focus on achieving my first goal as becoming a camera operator within the television industry. Not only has the course offered me a great deal of knowledge and insight in the industry, but getting valuable work experience has been an important key aspect to myself as a development as a professional. My recent work has been mainly camera operating for Portsmouth Football Club's big screen. There is a small team behind producing the live coverage of the game, including 3 camera operators, a director, a vision mixer and an announcer. The job has allowed me to work within a professional environment as a camera operator, dealing with being mainly under pressure within a live broadcast environment, as well as knowing what a director is looking for, especially with a lot of pressure involved, kind of how to adapt and work with other team members. Another main thing is that I started to enjoy seeing football matches. I'm not a person who has ever been interested in football, but I've kind of been getting involved and seeing, you know, who's at the top of the league and who are Portsmouth facing in the future, and it has actually kind of sparked a bit of an interest of mine. However, as my time at university has abruptly come to an end, I have learned important lessons on what to expect within the television industry, as well as how to act professionally. Last of all, I'm going to miss my time at Portsmouth University and reflect on every moment of the last 3 years. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, Daniel. And if you're in a position to offer mentoring, work experience, or other help to budding broadcast professionals, then please do get in touch.
As a regular viewer of KitPlus TV, you will already know that Mediaproxy is the global leader for all things compliance. With over 20 years in the business and over 15,000 channels deployed in over 60 countries, they're the trusted partner in the industry for logging, monitoring and analysis of linear broadcast and OTT.
And if you haven't watched every single show, then you may have missed that their interactive one-wall multi-viewer allows for monitoring hundreds of thousands of live streams using a unique exception-based approach via dynamic layouts. Mixed with compressed and uncompressed streams, as well as transport stream analysis, all via one interactive interface, opens up new workflows, especially for remote workflows.
And so if you're looking to replace your Volacon system, team up with the global leader in compliance. For more information, please check out their website. And now let's go over to see Dick.
I really missed NAB this year, not because I wanted another week in Las Vegas. I certainly didn't. But there are always a handful of people I talk to there who help build my understanding, who really worth talking to. One of those is Erik Otto from Mediaproxy, and I'm delighted to be able to talk to you, Erik, now over 17,031 kilometres of the wonderful internet at his home near Melbourne in Australia. Hi, Erik.
Hey, Dick. Nice to meet you again. It's been a while. It's a little while.
So, Mediaproxy. Just give us the 2-sentence introduction to Mediaproxy.
You want the elevator pitch? Look, we've sort of been in regulatory compliance recording from turn of the century. Now, turn of the century, I guess, makes us sound old now, doesn't it? It's been a while. So we've been doing compliance recording and monitoring for a long time. So we've seen a lot come and go. I guess most people know the discipline of what it is, and I guess most recently it's sort of got a bit more of an awareness with everyone. But look, we're doing what we're doing, and I guess the engineers that we are, we're trying our best to keep moving that part forward.
Great. So you're a relatively small business, but a vitally important niche business then.
Yeah, look, I mean, we're not Everts, let's put it this way, or Grass Valley, but we certainly find look, I always explain it to people, and like when you meet friends at barbecues and they say, what do you do? And I said, where do I start? Like it's like as we refer to when we speak to civilians, what do you actually say? So I guess broadcasting itself and broadcast technologies is quite a small industry. Like I always say, if you want to make real money, go into oil, mining, finance, maybe. It's a hobby or a sentence. It depends on how you look at it. So I've always considered it a hobby more than anything. Look, what's been certainly not big. I think the discipline of compliance logging in the grand scheme of the niche market that is broadcast anyway, broadcast technology, we certainly were always the other end of the bookshelf, so to speak, the book end on the receiving side. But by the time everything is done, we sort of have to now have an opinion on the source and also make sure that what went to air was actually correct, like in terms of regulatory compliance. As you know, many countries are regulated, and the government sort of stipulates and mandates what people have to, how content needs to be transmitted, etc., etc. So we're certainly not a big company, but the discipline of compliance has become more than it ever has been. I mean, we all remember replacing VHS tapes, turn of the century, as I said. Like, that's where it all came from, and we were one of the first companies to build a digital system, like a computer-based system to record this. Of course, nowadays the kitchen sink is in a product. Yeah, as I always say. By the time you look at it now, 20 years on, it's quite remarkable the amount of features that are in a product such as compliance logging. I mean, it's the discipline has sort of gone well beyond the regulatory part of it. So yeah, it's certainly become more important than sometimes customers realize.
Let's go back to the broadcast family, and it suffered a bit of a shockwave in your part of the world last year when one of your competitors effectively vanished in a puff of smoke. What happened there?
Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? Yeah, look, I mean, you just have to live long enough to see it all. As I keep saying, look, it's certainly unprecedented because it's like normally what you have is companies, clearly a lot of companies they have an exit strategy rather than a roadmap. Let's call it. Let's put it this way. So. And that's what it is. It's a business model, and you pursue it, and you're looking for a buyer eventually, and you get sold. Normally, what happens is you get sold to someone who maybe sees potential in the IP that you have, sees synergy, sees something in it to keep the torch alight. I guess when Verizon bought Volicon, obviously they clearly saw something in it, and it's probably not part of what we want to discuss today. But I guess the fact that they dropped them ultimately, it wasn't a surprise to me, because one thing that telcos are not known for is buying broadcast companies and taking them to new heights. Let's put it this way. Yeah. So there was a little bit of putting two and two together. I guess because everyone's so busy these days, it sort of got shoved by the wayside, and I guess when they ultimately got dropped, I guess it was a real shock, because now you have this void in the market. Now all of a sudden it was a product completely disappeared. I mean, try to imagine you like Vauxhall, and it's your car brand. You really like it. You don't mind the cars, and you'd be quite happily driving more of them, and all of a sudden General Motors decides no more. So you've got to look for something else. Like if this was sort of your preferred brand almost, as we all somewhat have. Now what do you do? So now you actually have to now start looking. So it was a real shock to for people to really now be thrown into a situation that they would not normally have been in. And I must admit, like, I'm not quite sure whether you've seen it, but I have not come across any company, at least in broadcast, that has been dropped at that sort of significance and left this massive void in the market now globally for someone else and to pick up the pieces, or for others to pick up the pieces.
Erik and I continued talking for quite a while. You can see the whole conversation by clicking on the link on screen now. But for now, back to the studio.
So we start as always with capture and produce. And as you can imagine, we're always interested in virtual studio news. mo-sys really has brought virtual studio production within reach of everybody with Star Tracker Studio, the world's first pre-assembled production package. It bundles the tracking system with cameras, mounts and software that interfaces with mo-sys's plugin. All the hardware comes mounted in a rolling rack cabinet and pre-wired. All you have to do is design your virtual environment, power up the Star Tracker Studio rack and start shooting.
Cool. Wooden Camera has announced a full range of RED approved accessories compatible with the much anticipated RED Komodo camera. With an expected ship date in early August, the accessory kits range from base, advanced and pro, and include all new RED Komodo specific accessories. All of them available for pre-order now.
And Blackmagic Design have announced the Ursa Mini Pro 12K, a Super 35 image sensor camera with 14 stops of dynamic range and high frame rate shooting at up to 60 frames per second in 12K at 80 megapixels per frame. This new model supports Blackmagic's Generation 5 color science and higher Blackmagic RAW performance. It should be available around about now, and that's July 2020, so make sure you get in touch with your reseller.
So in case you're wondering, we all get 4K, of course. NHK in Japan are actually transmitting 12 hours a day of 8K. So the concept with 12K acquisition from something like the Ursa Mini Pro that John was just talking about is to give the user room in post for reframing and stabilization for their 8K delivery.
So there you go, that's why you need 12K.
Allegedly.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right, and now we'd like to welcome Stuart Russell from Ross to the studio. Now, Stuart, something has caught my eye, this new graphite PPC, which looks like a great mobile solution, especially as we need to be a little bit more mobile nowadays. Tell us a bit about how it works.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, John. So we launched Graphite 3 years ago now, and we basically positioned that as an all-in-one production unit. So it has a real carbonate switcher in the box, real expression graphics. Also has a brand new Rave audio engine. And when we then upgraded Graphite, we introduced a free set of graphics templates under the bonnet as well. So what we've basically done for this year is we've taken that as a package. We've simplified it a little bit, kind of shrunk it down, so to speak. And we've launched this new version called Graphite PPC, which is PPC stands for Personal Production Centre. So the whole idea is to have something that really is much more of a kind of grab and go solution. I mean, the whole thing weighs in at about 19 kilos, comes with its own kind of soft shell case with a handle and wheels. So the idea is that you can just pick this up, put it in the boot of a car, or stick it on an airplane with you, and away you go. And we've had to make a couple of changes in terms of the overall graphite platform. So I mean, this one offers you up to 2 MEs, up to 4 mini MEs, 4 DVEs, 6 frame syncs, 4 media stores, and 2 multiviewers. So it's not quite on the same scale as the other graphite, but I mean, it's still the same Rave audio engine. It still comes with the same graphics clips package. It's incredibly quiet, so we designed it so that it could be used in a shared space with talent next to a microphone. And the starting price for this is bonkers. I mean, it's about 20, I think we start off at 20,000 US list price. So we think that's going to be a really good, attractive product for a lot of people. It's very compact, very lightweight, nice and easy to use. So fingers crossed.
And is this available now, Stuart?
It should be available come the end of the end of July. Yeah.
Cool. And just what's the particular demographic that you're aiming this unit at?
Well, I mean, when we launched the original Graphite, we thought that might be ideal for smaller productions or disaster recovery type scenarios. But actually, a lot of people have been using it as part of their main production, just because it does have quite a lot of horsepower. So we have this idea that maybe people, especially with a lot of sports coming back online now, and kind of smaller productions going on out in the field, corporate type applications. So we kind of thought, people that really wanted that portability, and obviously the price point. But who knows? Really, I'm always surprised by where I see some of our products pop up. So we'll see. We'll see who picks these up.
And I'd like to ask, considering we're well into it, maybe nearing the end of your online sessions now, how have they been going?
Yeah, good, very, very positive. Thank you. I mean, we made a very deliberate effort to kind of spread these out over an extended period of time. I mean, as you all know, compressing everything into 4 days for an EB show is always it's always a bit of a whirlwind, and you never always get the chance to, as a visitor, to see all the things that maybe you want to. So we did make a very deliberate decision to spread this out over the course of the 10-12 weeks. Attendance generally has been very, very good. I've been very impressed actually at the number of people who've been watching the video podcasts that we've been doing, because they're more sort of kind of thought leadership material. And we've been looking at a whole variety of different live production applications and environments and best practice in those. So I think it's been very positive. I hope people have found it educational and helpful. And obviously with the news about IBC not taking place this September, we're already well into the planning phase for what we're going to do as an IBC replacement. So stay tuned for that.
Cool. And for those of us that couldn't make it live, are the sessions available for us to go and have a look at online?
Yes,
Are they recorded? Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, no, we've recorded all of the sessions, and everything is available to watch on demand. And your magic website for that is rosvideo.com/live.
Thanks, Stuart. We'll put a link on screen now. Thanks for coming in today. And although we won't, of course, be seeing you at IBC this year, we'll hopefully see you in the not too distant future.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
And now on to manipulate and edit with ATEC flash technology, or AFT for short, making the Blackjet VX1P, a new media reader compatible with AJA's high-capacity pack media. Encased in a protective metal housing, AJA pack media SSDs are hardy, robust storage solutions with capacities ranging from 256 gig to 2 terabytes. Built for use in the field, repeat bashing about and all that. Good stuff.
Talking about robust media storage, then we've got a few good user reviews. One on the Narbox 2.0, which is a great way of backing up files whilst on the move, and the other on the SanDisk Extreme Portable SSD. They are the least exciting part of the production chain, but arguably one of the most important. Check out the link on screen now, and don't forget, we pay £100 for any user review that we use.
And now it's time to welcome our next guest into the studio. We have Jordan Thistlewood from the Foundry. Welcome to the show, Jordan. We've seen recently a new release of Katana. Can you tell us a little bit about why it exists and what type of industry challenges it addresses?
Absolutely. So first off, thank you for having me. Katana is a tool that was originally developed at Sony before Foundry took it over. And it's really built for two things: post-production visual effects and full CG animation. The idea there being that there's a certain amount of scale and complexity that has sort of always been getting increasing over the years. So Katana was developed to deal with the largest complexity of full CG visual effects and animation. So we're talking about the complexity levels of Jungle Book, Lion King, like that level of detail. So a lot of that is how do you deal with so much information and marshal it through the lighting and rendering process. And so Katana 3.6 has really been about taking that power, that strength that's had about a decade in production, and starting to bring some more artist-friendly sides to it. So Katana first started off very much about dealing with the complexity. As things have grown, we're trying to then make sure that this is an artist-facing tool. So when you look at Pixar films, they're actually the cinematography for Pixar, at least the lighting half of the cinematography for Pixar films, is completed with Katana. When you look at the Star Wars films, a lot of the visual effects, the full CG work there, that is completed with Katana. So it's that level of production, and it also scales down to things like TV episodic animation as well, where it's, there's a raising quality bar, but it's much more about the volume proposition of how many sort of tens of episodes, each with hundreds of shots, which adds up to thousands of shots produced in the same period of time that one single movie might be worked on.
While we're on it, could you give us a little idea of what the future of look dev and lighting, of course, looks like?
Okay. So I'd say that the future looks, pardon the pun, looks very bright. But, for us, it's actually more about how do artists interface with the work. So the complexity, the volume, none of that's going to go down. The challenges of, the pandemic, everybody's shifting to working from home, thin clients. These are all things that are starting to come together. What we're trying to do with Katana is transition and set a path for the future of look development and lighting, where it's less about the 20-year history of computer graphics, where you hit a button, it makes something. You then have a 4-pane quad view that harkens back to CAD drawing days with handles that you move things around. The path that we've set is one where everything is directly interacted with in the viewer. So if a studio had a Microsoft Surface computer, if artists were working on Wacom Cintiqs, regardless of the task that they're doing, they're interacting with the image itself. So unless of it being multiple steps that they have to deconstruct a creative outcome that they're trying to achieve, It is about really interacting directly with the material. And that's the path that we're on. So there's a version of Katana upcoming where we're splitting things in two ways, where you worry about where the light is in space because it's a practical light source. So you just click where you want those lights to be placed for practicals, or you're worried about the subject matter that you're lighting, say like the main character or the main actor. And so you're really more concerned about the fall of light across them relative to what things are being done. So really just trying to change things so that artists work like cinematographers and basically set painters more than they are a computer graphics technician.
Jordan, that's great. Fascinating as always. It's a subject I'm particularly interested in and could go on forever, but thank you very much for coming on KitPlus TV. And if people want to find out more information, obviously we'll put a link up on screen now. In the meantime, Jordan, thank you very much for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Now, Clearcom, who I have spoken to many times at a trade show about digital wireless communication, so do check out the previous playlists, are now shipping the iFreeSpeak Edge. The latest addition to FreeSpeak's family is now available, giving users more control and configuration options and intuitive design features in the transceivers and belt packs. The belt packs also are IP54 rated, which of course is very handy as well, especially in the UK.
Just a bit, yeah. Sticking with the intercom theme for a moment, Pliant Technologies have released a new firmware update for its Crewcom intercom system, version 1.8. The new version offers several significant improvements, including refined communications for network devices and an overall enhanced user experience.
And Cairo and Higo's Trekab team in Sweden have achieved another important milestone in its latest developments towards a semi-automated offside technology. It's based on the Emmy award-winning Trekab Gen 5 optical tracking system. Now, I'm sure this will be controversial technology, as all football technology seems to be, but its AI-driven ball tracking system for automated ball pass detection combined with limb tracking and skeletal modelling is showing great promise, supporting referees in the future to make fast and accurate offside calling decisions.
And now it's time to welcome our next guest. And so we welcome Cornelius Heinemann into the KitPlus TV studio. Welcome, Cornelius. So, Rohde Schwarz is well known for its high-end range of precision engineering hardware, test and measurement, etc. Could you give us a rundown of where the company is now? It's changed quite considerably.
Yes, of course I can. And Matt, thank you for the opportunity here. A pleasure to be in your show.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rohde Schwarz, of course, Rohde Schwarz is, of course, still able to do high precision hardware. But as you said, we are changing tremendously. And if you might remember, 18 months ago, we have acquired the company Pixel Power, which was at the cutting edge of a software-defined playout system. And why did we do that? Why did we do that? We did it because it was our strategy to move our full media technology portfolio over to a software-defined portfolio, and Pixel Power fit very well into that. Now, in times of COVID, of the pandemic, we just can say the strategy, and we are a long-term thinking and long-term working company, this strategy has worked out because our customers like the idea to work agile, to be flexible, and the software-defined products help a lot in that. And so we have currently exciting discussions with them on that path.
So I guess following on from that note, we've all experienced challenges over the last few months, and we've also seen rapid deployment of solutions as well. How have your customers been coping, and of course yourself at Rohde Schwarz?
Yeah, we just can say every crisis is different. Yeah, of course, it's not the first crisis we experience, but the others have been economic crisis firsthand, and this is the first time a health crisis. and giving us an intermediate cutoff of personal contacts. And of course, this means a challenge to everyone. And because we are in a relationship-based business. Rohde Schwarz is a German-based company, and you might know that Germany, so far managed the crisis quite well, and as so did Rohde Schwarz. And we profit a lot. We at Rohde Schwarz that we were prepared, and our employees could easily work remotely from home 10 years ago. I think that would have been quite dramatic, but now this is working almost seamlessly. And I see our customers who have prepared for that are working quite well as well. And of course, all what we did with our products, and this is really the whole range, from our software-defined products, but even our hardware-based terrestrial transmitters, they all support remote maintenance, remote support. We can dial into the equipment from here to help our customers. I think this is a good story to tell here.
That's interesting because you mention relationships, which of course involves an element of personal contact with your customers and with the industry. Now, what about the trade shows that we're missing out on? We have our small events coming up in regional events in the UK, but that's only one region. There are no big events until April 21, and we've just got to hope that that goes ahead. Is this going to be particularly tough for you?
It's definitely a challenge. As mentioned before, the sudden cutoff of all personal contacts is it's demanding, simply because our business is relationship based. And a relationship means finally, if you are doing a large project, if a customer is doing a large project with a supplier, it depends on trust, and trust comes from personal meetings and to get a project forward. So I think there will be relief as soon as the shutdowns go away step by step, but definitely this will take some time. But look, I'm optimistic. I'm always see a chance, an opportunity in a challenge. The point here is we see all the demands on us, to work remotely, to be more flexible and agile. And before the crisis, we had very often the discussion about cloud and full IP and all this stuff. And when it came to real projects, very often the result was not a consequence step. We always had to keep some legacy hardware and so on. But now I think the door is open to go the way towards fully software-defined solutions. And insofar, I would say it's good luck if preparation meets opportunity. And we already see some of our customers who really have deserved the good luck.
Thank you very much, Cornelius, for coming in and seeing us. We hope that we'll see Rohde Schwarz and its products at show soon. And thank you very much, and speak to you soon.
So Matt, thank you very much for the opportunity. It's really impressive to see the three of you in some kind of a virtual studio, although you are, I heard, quite far away. So.
An interesting survey just came to our attention. Apparently 82% of global broadcasters believe that cellular networks like 5G will eventually replace traditional broadcast distribution as a preferred way to access TV content, with over a third of them expecting this to begin happening within 1 or 2 years. The survey, conducted on behalf of Nevion, discovered that 10% still anticipate that it would take more than 3 years for 5G to overtake traditional services, but the vast majority of broadcasters agree that 5G will likely increase the consumption of content.
Yeah, Dick had a look at it on last week's show, looking deeper into 5G and the potential uses, of which there are many, of course. So do have a look at that. The link is on your screen now.
Certainly is. Right, shall we move over onto our next guest? So I'd like to welcome Fabio Murra, who is the Senior Vice President of Product and Marketing for Renova. Welcome to the show, Fabio. Now, we want to talk a little bit about codecs, particularly the MPEG-5 Part 2 or LCEVC codec. For those who don't know, tell us a little bit about this and about codecs and about specifically this LCEVC codec.
Yeah, and codec are a fundamental part of our digital lives, if you want. They're in every video stream that we receive or every video that we capture with our mobile phones, right? They've been around for many years. And currently, MPEG has in the making, MPEG being the standardization body that's behind the standards that brought us digital television and internet video, has in the making an additional 3 standards: EVC, VVC, and LCEVC, which stands for low complexity video coding, low complexity enhancement video coding, pardon me. It's unique as a standard in the fact that it's an enhancement standard, so it works with other codecs, MPEG codecs of the past, MPEG codecs of the future, but also codecs that are not MPEG standard. So it's quite versatile from that perspective. Currently, it's at draft international status, so that means it's technically frozen. And at the MPEG plenary currently undergoing virtually, we're talking about carriage and file formats.
Cool. And in what scenarios is LCVC applicable, and what benefits does it bring to a business?
Well, LCEVC is quite unique. Again, it's an enhancement standard, meaning that it's a technique or a series of techniques that can help other codecs, other video delivery workflows to perform better, whether it's in streaming, whether it's in broadcast, whether it's in video conferencing applications. The deployment of LCEVC on top of an existing technology can improve it, can make the quality of the stream higher, the size of the file size, for example, smaller. What does that mean? It means for servers, better quality of service, less buffering incidents. It means better quality services, HD instead of SD, for example, for video conferencing. It means lowering the cost of delivery. So the impact are quite substantial to video services, large and small.
So it seems like quite an appealing proposition, to be fair. So if someone, a service provider or broadcaster or streaming company wants to roll this out and implement it, how easy is it to go about this?
Well, in the words, kind of not of myself, of Jan Orzer, one of the analysts for streaming media, LCEVC is the only one of the 3 standards from MPEG that can have an immediate impact on video delivery workflows.
Right.
Because as well as being an enhancement is low complexity. That means that can be deployed as a simple software upgrade on encoders and decoders on the devices, basically, that are in circulation today without waiting for replacement cycles of devices, for example, just as a simple feature in an app, right? And without minimal impact on power consumption, on the battery of the device, for example. And this low complexity nature of it means that it can be literally deployed today. We are in the process as Renova to deploy it on a number of different applications with a number of different customers. We have about a dozen projects ongoing. And we have projects ongoing with industry vendors to make it available on commercial products, from encoders to set-top boxes to mobile phone devices. A number of these vendors, I mentioned, for example, Xilinx, the FPGA vendor that has a product for transcoding in cloud and on-premise, very dense, very green, has already announced support for it. Simple Stream, the OTT platform, has an out-of-the-box solution that allows a operator or service provider to launch an LCEVC-based service very easily. And of course, as Renova, we make the libraries, the software development kits that can enable industry vendors or the the operators and service providers that want to deploy it themselves deploy it very easily and very quickly.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, we'll make sure we get some information on the screen so that people know where to come to vNova and get a solution. And thanks for offering a bit more of an explanation about LCEVC and how to get it out there. Thank you very much for coming in.
No problem with that.
We hope to see you soon.
Yeah. Okay, no, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
So now it's time for Alister Chapman's latest tech talk. Over to you, Alister.
Hi, so ISO and gain, what are they and how are they different? And what does that mean to those of us shooting with our electronic video cameras? Let's start with ISO. So ISO is a sensitivity rating, and if you shoot with film, that would normally be an indication of the actual sensitivity of that film stock. And if we wanted to change how sensitive our film camera was, you'd actually change the roll of film in that camera for a more or less sensitive film and have a more or less sensitive system. But with an electronic camera, most of us can't actually change the sensor in the cameras. So that means we actually have a fixed sensitivity. Now, there are some cameras available today that do have a dual ISO function, and those cameras do have two different sensitivities, and that's done by changing the way the sensor itself fundamentally operates. But that's quite different to what we see in most cameras that have a gain switch or a menu setting where you can change the ISO rating of the camera in relatively small steps. What's happening there in those cameras when you change that ISO number is you're changing the amount of gain that's applied in the camera. And the problem that we have is that ISO doesn't actually tell us what the camera is doing. It does give you a number that you can put into a light meter to get the right exposure or the right brightness of image, but that's not the same as changing the sensitivity of the camera. If instead we use dB of gain in our cameras, it does actually tell us much more about what the camera is doing, because when you are at 0 dB, you don't have any added gain, and this is normally where most cameras will deliver the best dynamic range, the lowest noise, and the best image overall. When you add in 6 dB of gain, you are doubling the gain in the camera, and this will generally double the noise, and it will also typically reduce the dynamic range by around 1 stop. And for each 6 dB of gain that you add, the same could be said. So when you get to 12 dB of gain, you will have 2 times 2, that's 4 times the noise and less dynamic range. And when you get to 18 dB of gain, you'll have 2 times 2 times 2, because that's 3 lots of 6 in 18, and you'll have 8 times as much noise. So when you use dB, you know what the camera is doing, and you can take pretty much any camera from any manufacturer and know that at 0 dB that camera will perform at its best, and at 12 dB it's going to be pretty noisy. Now with ISO, we don't know that. We don't know what the ISO rating of that camera means in terms of noise or grain. It tells us nothing about that. And another problem that we have is that different gamma curves in a camera produce different brightness of images. So different gamma curves may have different ISO ratings, even when they're at 0 dB of gain. And we see that a lot in many cameras, and it causes a huge amount of confusion. Because somebody will say, well, this camera is rated at, let's say, 2000 ISO at its base, and then you go to a different gamma curve, and actually the correct base rating becomes 800, just because of the differences between the gamma curves, and not because there's more or less gain, and not because the cameras become more or less sensitive. The sensitivity is actually the same. It is just an exposure rating. So overall, with an electronic camera, my recommendation to you is to actually use dB of gain instead of ISO. You'll find it a lot less confusing. When you are at 0 dB, you're going to get the very best performance out of that camera. When you're at 18 dB, it's going to be noisy, it's going to be grainy, and it applies for every single camera that you're ever likely to use. Sure, I get it, ISO sounds cool, it's more like working with film, but then we have to be a little bit honest with ourselves here, and actually how many of us are actually using light meters to set our exposure on a day-to-day basis? I'm sure some of you are, but the majority are probably not. So using ISO doesn't give you any benefit at all. All it does is add a layer of possible confusion. So that's it from me on ISO and game. Next week I'm going to look at what I learned about streaming during lockdown. And with that, back to the studio.
Thank you, Alister. And as we've mentioned earlier in the show, it's a KitFest double bill this week, and we'd like to welcome John Fry from CVP. Welcome. And having seen the changes in the industry over the last few months, can you identify what the commercial impact has been or will be on any of your customers, and what you're trying to do, if anything, to alleviate this pain?
Well, firstly, thank you for inviting me into the studio. I think the last 4 months have been very trying for everybody. We could pretend that there are a few that haven't found it difficult, but I think there's very, very few. So one of the things that I think has been difficult for people is, people buy assets, if they're expensive assets, on finance, and I think the banks have been quite flexible and understanding in the early stages, where people have said, look, guys, I've got no work. I can't keep up with the payments as they exist right now. I need a payment holiday. I'd like to ask for forbearance on my current finance facility. And like I say, I think banks have been initially quite accommodating of that for maybe a 3-month period. Today, I think to ask for a further extension on those is quite difficult, and banks are asking a lot more questions, and probably rightfully so, being a lot more diligent in checking whether or not it's actually required, which is then a challenge for a lot of our industry, who are desperately trying to get back to work, but have now got to wait for those jobs to come in, the money to arrive, before they can actually continue to make those payments. So they're running around with very, very expensive assets, no money coming in and lots of money going out. What we would like to do is give people the opportunity to often we consider to be trade in or trade up their equipment, but fundamentally offset those assets to us and relieve the burden of those financial payments. So we are saying to people, look, if you really want to sell these assets, you can sell them privately, obviously, but we all know that that's very difficult to do. We can take those assets off your hands. We will pay cash for them. We can then settle that finance for you, and you no longer have to worry about those monthly payments, which we've always done, but I think nobody's really necessarily associated CVP with used equipment. It's always been with new, but we are focusing more on that as a specific product area. But in addition to that, rather than just paying cash for it, we would also consider consignment sales for people. So fundamentally what we do is we take a commission on the sale. We don't buy the equipment up front. We list it and sell it on your behalf on the website, and with the 20-odd sales guys that I've got in our sales team that can sell it on your behalf. And then once it's sold at an agreed price with you, we just charge a commission for it. The beauty of that being, you don't have to send the asset to us. You can keep using it until we have a potential sale for it. So I think that is another kind of interesting part of helping customers offset some of the financial burden and release some of their assets that possibly they're not using full time right now. And I think that will go some way to helping the industry initially. I don't see this being something that we need to do for a long term, but for the initial period, whilst people are finding their feet again, I think it'll be very, very useful. And then hopefully, if they've had a good experience with that, and in 6 months' time, everybody's flat out, needs new kit, we're here to sell the new kit back to them.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's obviously going a long way to help customers that need to light and load. What about those that have seen an increase in demand but may have worries about investments right now?
Well, I mean, I'd like to think that, as everything picks up, and it will pick up, I have every confidence it will pick up. And we're already recognising actually that it is increasing. I think it's important to say that. There will be a demand for new technology, and obviously there is new technology being released continually. One of the things that I think is going to be a challenge again for everybody, not least because those that have had credit facilities and asked for forbearance or payment holidays they're then going to find it quite difficult to get further credit Banks are not going to be as excited at lending at the moment because people's accounts won't look as good, this, that, and the other. So what we're looking at is more flexible finance solutions to try and put things in place for customers to help them on that journey. What we need to do is identify what the customer's real needs are. Is it just longer periods of finance agreements? Is it lease agreements to keep payments down, leases with balloons, payment holidays to enable them to really pitch for work and get that work coming in and paid for before they have to start paying for those assets? So fundamentally, what we're doing at CVP is what we do with Kit and everything else. We're tailoring solutions for people. So it's not a case of, look, just come and buy your kit. You get the same kit that you get from everywhere else. We tailor solutions for people. And in the same way, then we're tailoring finance solutions for clients as well, which is based upon the real understanding of their needs. So drilling down, getting a feel for what it is they really want and how they can best afford that, and then facilitating it that way. So it is more tailored solutions, which is
and the customer's not out there on his own.
Absolutely not.
No, got your support if you like. And just a quick one again: have you? I mean, because CVP, you sell such a wide range of products. Can you identify a particular increase in a particular type of product at the moment? Have you noticed that whole, the NDI and SRT products, little boxes and things? Has there been a big increase in that sort of stuff?
I mean, there's been a natural demand for looking for streaming solutions. It's fair to say.
Cool.
I think our business is returning, but I think we're seeing new opportunities coming from obvious sectors like houses of worship, education, distance learning being key, and other smaller sectors that you wouldn't necessarily expect it from. So we are looking at providing online kind of almost configurable streaming type solutions for people, a bit like a Lego block, with some diagrams based on, again, a few specific wants and needs, and then we'll tailor solutions to sit around that. But yes, we are seeing increased demand there, which is great.
Yeah, and John, just going back to what we were originally talking about, I'm guessing this applies to freelancers, to companies, production companies, no matter what size the business might be?
I'd like to, look, none of this is dictated by me. All of this is subject to approval, but we want to consider everybody, yes. So, if it's a small startup through to, a large established company, we will consider everybody. We don't broker money ourselves. We make introductions to that. What we do is understand how it works. And one of the lovely things is it's not just CVP that are thinking about this, manufacturers are thinking about this as well. So there's a number of manufacturer programs that exist today. The challenges that are attached to those manufacturer programs is they are sometimes a little bit rigid. So what I want customers to think about is that, okay, there is a nice scheme that's been introduced by a manufacturer that is quite rigid. However, bring it to us and let's see if we can adapt it in a way that makes it more flexible and suit your needs better. And that's really, again, I think one of the values that CVP can add throughout the whole process. It is all about tailoring solutions. It is very much that kind of Savile Row service.
Yeah, absolutely. One hat doesn't fit all, does it? No. John, thank you very much for coming on KitPlus TV. It's great to see you, and we hope to catch up soon.
Look forward to it.
Do check out the link on screen for more information on what John has been talking about. It's great to see creative initiatives like this to help during difficult times where very few people are unaffected in some way or another. So if CVP can help you, then get in touch.
Well, we hope you've enjoyed the show, and we'll see you virtually next Tuesday with more workflow guests, Dick's interview, industry news and technical insight from Alister.